Hello everyone, welcome along to the Redmen Originals Podcast with me, Paul Machin. I'm joined by Chris Pajak, by Chloe Bloxham and by Dan Clubb.
This has to be like the first time in about 2 months.
So long, I was thinking that this morning. Been a while.
We're back, baby. All in one room. Sensational stuff.
Look good as well, don't we?
Yeah, we all look fucking great.
Apart from me.
Well, hey, you look good. Grass at all.
Yeah, I said apart from me.
Grass at all. Fine. Do yourself down. Don't do yourself dirty like that. Sexy man.
Lovely.
Hello everyone. Liverpool won a game of football to maintain their unbeaten start to the Premier League season. But the big question on everyone who isn't a Liverpool fan's lips is, are Liverpool lucky? We'll be discussing that a little bit later on.
I think they're framing it more like a Liverpool half shit.
Yeah. Honestly, that yeah, exactly that. Cool. We'll delve into it. Obviously, in an entirely...
The problem they've got is Liverpool's other half is really, really good.
Yeah, ridiculously good. Yeah. 100%.
And about to get better.
Yeah. The stuff that's half shit is like, in some instances, probably in the top 5 best players in the world as well, which is an interesting discussion. We will be discussing Mo Salah's form, amongst other things, and then we'll be looking ahead to Atletico Madrid and a bit on the derby as well, so stay tuned for all of that. If you're here on YouTube right now, you can interact with us live in the comments section, or you can drop a like, or you can do both. Please. And after the fact, you can drop a like as well, and of course subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is much appreciated. Before we do crack on talking about the match, just want to draw everyone's attention to our partners for the season, oosh.co.uk. There's a competition running for tickets to the Liverpool Atletico Madrid game, which is midweek this week, so last chance to get involved there. At time of recording, it is 1 day and 8 hours away, so yeah, you're into last chance territory here. Use the link in the description underneath video and podcast. Get in there. You get a stay in an apartment overnight, as well as some spending money and hospitality tickets to that game, which, according to Arne Slot, is probably the first opportunity you're going to get to see Alexander Isak in a Liverpool shirt as well. So yeah, grab your chance and get a ticket for that one. If you use the code REDMEN, you get 20% off your entry as well. So yeah, fill your boots on that one. Right, okay, Burnley 0, Liverpool 1. Chris Pajak, another late win, regardless of all the other stuff which we'll get to. It's living that, right?
Oh yeah, you can't ask for more, really, can you? I mean, you could ask for 4 first half goals, but there's nothing that feels like a late winner, and there's nothing that I wanted to see more than that ex-Mank handle the ball in a place that he didn't really need to handle the ball. Like, he couldn't have been closer to outside of the corner of the penalty area, and it's just brilliant, and it's exactly what you needed. And then Mo Salah, after playing shit all game, steps up and does what he needed to do, and then the penalty doesn't get retaken for Frimpong being on the penalty spot with Mo Salah when it was taken. Glorious, absolutely glorious. To all the other fans of all the other clubs, keep watching, we'll keep doing it, we're fine with it, we enjoy it, and I loved every second of it.
Absolutely. Chloe, you were in the grounds. Another one.
Yeah, another one, and another view of watching everyone go arse over tit when Salah ran up. Absolutely unbelievable scenes, and it's mad because you feel relief, but you also feel like we've absolutely deserved every minute of that. So actually, let me just celebrate it. And yeah, incredible that it was our end as well, that he got to take the penalty in front of, and even more special that it was that little idiot who did it. He came on the pitch, and like every single thing he won, I remember like they sang some really horrendous song to the Zombie Cranberries. It's a good tune, but with Hannibal it wasn't as good. But they kept singing it after.
What? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going to sing the
scan it in for me.
He's in your head. He's in your head. Hannibal.
That doesn't scan, does it?
And if it's not that, I got like 20 minutes of the song.
Were you singing handball back at them afterwards?
You know what? We didn't actually join in. if someone would have been on that'd have been great.
But these were all upside down at this point. So there was no more time.
There was people on the floor. But yeah, it was incredible that like he came on and everything like he did, like every throw-in that he won or every tackle, he kept getting the crowd up and he kept singing his name back.
Which is exactly what happened at United. It's just those lower league clubs, you know what I mean, or lower division clubs.
And then to see him with his head in his hands in absolute despair because he's done something absolutely stupid, it was just glorious.
It was a fantastic moment. That few seconds, it being him, like a little mank beaut, being the one who does it, and it is that immediate look on his face of, he knows, there's no like, what are you talking about, it's outside the area. Yeah. He crumples. There's a guy next to him, Dan, who falls to the ground. Like this is like the last kick of the game in a World Cup final. Like, because that was the game plan. We'll discuss it in a second. And he's fucked it for them.
Yeah, it was for them, absolutely. That, and as you touched upon the word there, that was their game plan, and credit to them, they more or less saw it through, didn't they, until they didn't, ultimately. But you're right, I think every single Burnley player, to a man, and obviously the manager as well, just knew the second they hit his arm in that position inside the box, that was it. It was written. Apart from Hartman, I think they were all dismayed because Hartman seemed overjoyed. The Liverpool won the game. Everyone seeing his celebrations post-match. You said at the Burnley, like, mate, he was buzzing. Was he? A picture of him like celebrating the penalty going in, and then he's like laughing with on a slot after the game. Yeah, they obviously know each other from previous, and he seems absolutely over the moon that the Liverpool manager points later on. So that's that.
He's got Salah as his FPL captain this week.
Something amiss there somewhere, yeah. But no, it was. And listen, let's be honest, like Liverpool, you know, we'll speak in detail about if we were good or if we weren't as we go on. But it's another moment, isn't it? So early in the season, and it's another picture for that wall and the accent they've got going on.
I know.
Yeah, love a bit of that. I like that. Like, yeah. There can't possibly be a big moment every single football match, but Liverpool are trying their best to fill that wall.
Who is it? What manager is it? Where they go to him, they ask him a question, and he's basically like,
it can't go on like this, can it?
It can.
You can't keep getting last minute winners. We can.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely love it. Let's chat a bit about Burnley before we crack on, because it's worthy of discussion in how they set up. And look, because I'm broadly of the opinion that, look, any football team can play however way they want to play. Scott Parker, it's worth remembering, was the Bournemouth manager that got beat 9-0 by Liverpool. So he knows how to get sacked as a Premier League manager, and he knows how easily it can come to you. Burnley were also absolutely arse under Vincent Kompany in the Premier League, so don't do that again, is a learning from the last time they were in the league. But, like, again, fine, Liverpool, the champions, coming to town. If you get a point, then that's an absolutely brilliant point, you know, in your relegation fight or whatever. But these are the fine margins. If something goes wrong, you've lost it and you've subjected your fans to that for 95 minutes. Yeah,
but listen, if they want to stay in the Premier League, I think they might have to dig in and play like that against some of the sides in the league. Obviously, I think it was a really good precursor to what's going to come later on in the week anyway, for Liverpool, because we're going to see a better version of them at Anfield. But what I thought was really interesting for me is, or what I thought after the game, I think they'd have beaten other teams. I think if we don't have two of the world's best centre-backs, we might lose that game of football. But the fact is that Virgil van Dijk and Ibu Konate dealt with those counter-attacks so well that I'm not sure other teams can deal with it in quite the same way. So I think the game plan was brilliant from Burnley. I do. I'm not going to take anything away from them just because they got beat. I think Scott Parker got it right.
Yeah, I think that the thing that's worth considering, Chloe, is he's managing a season. So if he wants them to be tough, and all of his pre-match and post-match stuff was about like fighting for the lads. He did a weird match of the day interview was a bit weird when he talked about certain humans giving up in certain situations and all that. That was a bit much, but. If you're gonna try and get in your team's head that we're really hard to beat, yes, they've lost there, but actually, if you can hold Liverpool out for the best, basically, if you can keep Liverpool at bay for a full match, then that should stand them in good stead for the season moving forward.
Yeah, and you look, they didn't lose because defensively they had a moment of lapse. It was a lad who just, in the heat of the moment, has decided to put his arm to block a ball, which he doesn't need to do. And, you know, that's on him, mistakes happen. He's made that mistake in that moment, probably because he's so filled up with adrenaline from coming on the pitch against Liverpool and having to see the game out. But actually, they defended brilliantly. I mean, I'm trying to think of the amount of shots we had, and a lot of the shots we had were in and around the outside area of the box. I think You know, the keeper makes a couple, maybe 3 saves. The Sobo one is a really good save. I'm trying to think
Robertson,
of other times.
First half, Frimpong.
Yeah. So there wasn't major clear chances that they gave away. They defended well. And I said after the game, like, of course they were always going to do that against us, because you play any other way against us as them and you're going to get ripped apart, because we're just lethal like that. And if they manage to get through another 60 seconds and a lad doesn't block a ball with his hand, then they're coming out and everyone's praising them. People are still praising them now for the fact that they were so very close and they deserve to take something away from the game. I'm not sure that is, like, I get the sentence, but when you offer absolutely nothing going the other way and you didn't really try and win the game, do you deserve anything else if you lose? But I get what people are saying, that they had a game plan, they nailed the game plan, and they lose in an unfortunate way because it's some lad who's handballed it instead of Mo Salah dribbling past 3 people and putting you on your ass. Yeah.
Well, these are the fine margins in footy, aren't they, Dan? Because you know, if there's praise for the team that their game plan was to get a point and they don't get a point, then they failed in their game plan, regardless of how it went about it. If the game plan is to have 20% possession of the football and lose on every measurable metric of the football match, then it is going to be hard. But again, Liverpool are not their battle this season. You know, it's as much of a learning ground for them as anything moving forward. And the other additional question to this, I guess, because there's a lot of focus on Burnley, but I've heard some saying that Liverpool weren't good. I know you weren't overly enamoured with Liverpool's overall levels in the game.
No, not particularly, and it kind of stems from where Chloe's just touched upon there in terms of us not creating lots in terms of clear-cut chances. And again, on the other hand, you do have to praise Burnley, and I think Scott Parker is right to set up his team in that way and surrender possession of the ball, really, because I think anything else, if they do decide to go toe-to-toe with us, we just pick them apart. Maybe we are 3 or 4 up at half-time and the game's done and dusted, really. And also goal difference comes into this. I think if they'd have grabbed the point, it would have been a massive bonus for them. Keeping the scoreline down is probably a bonus for them as well, because that may well what it boils down to at the end of the season. But yeah, from our perspective, no, I wasn't overly enamoured with what we managed to do in the game, to be honest. And listen, you can praise us for being relentless and not stopping and having sort of the mentality and the mindset to go until the last minute and to keep plugging away when it wasn't really happening for us and it felt like a bit of an off day. But I don't know, it just felt like maybe we ran out of ideas a little bit towards the end. They did get a little bit hit and hope. Even the ball actually wins the penalty itself. I'm not entirely sure that was an avenue to success for us, if I'm being really honest. So, yeah, I don't know. I think when you go somewhere like that, albeit again, very resolute, set up in a manner that was meant to stifle us and stop us creating chances, when you've got the players at our disposal that we've got, I'd have liked to have seen us create more and be a bit more inventive, perhaps. And that's when you want your Mo Salahs, who we know had a really poor day, obviously. Yeah. So that is obviously, you know, hamstrings you a little bit. Florian Wirtz comes into this conversation for me as well. Better second half, it felt like. But we've signed him for games like that, when teams are trying to do that and they are in a low block and they are putting 10 men behind the ball and come on then, come and try and break us down. When you come out of there, and obviously we get the 3 points, all's well that ends well, but you've only managed to create half a clear-cut chance of it being. I mean, the Chiesa one possibly falls into that bracket, I'm not sure. But yeah, I just feel like we've not been at it, have we? Let's be honest. And when we do click into gears, we'll see the best of this Liverpool team, obviously. But for now, based on yesterday's evidence, I was left very, very underwhelmed.
They were very, very resolute, and they limited what Liverpool were able to do. And it's one of them games, Chris, where even a fully flying, gelled Liverpool team would probably still have a difficult afternoon against that, because those games happen in football all the time. But it doesn't excuse you. I think Dan's got a point. Liverpool also weren't totally on it. It wasn't like we had, we weren't peppering their goal with all kinds of crazy chances. There were just a few moments where someone might pull wide and get a cross, but no one had made the run, between the sticks to try and stick it away. Ekitike has that one, particularly when he stabs it across the goal. Is it a shot? Is it a cross? It kind of doesn't matter. It didn't go in. There was an opportunity for someone to get a toe on there, but no one's thought to gamble. And that probably happened 3 or 4 times in the game. So yeah, there's definitely loads of room for improvement in that. So it feels maybe a little bit like, yeah, we have got away with one, but yeah, back to the drawing board for more stuff to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I thought tactically it was a really interesting game. I've already planned tomorrow's deep dive because we're doing it a little bit early and stuff. And I got to watch the game on my couch. So I had my pen and my paper out, and I was watching it sort of in an analytical way rather than an emotional way, so probably feels slightly different to you guys in terms of how I came out with it. I think Liverpool were absolutely fine for the most part, to be honest with you. I don't think we were terrible, but I do think we saw a lot of sort of variations of what Liverpool could be this season, some of them through substitutions. One of the things that sort of struck me the most is watching the game is that realisation that over a third of our team yesterday was different to what it would have been last season. You know, you're looking at Szoboszlai playing full-back, didn't happen last season very often. You've obviously got Kerkers in there, you've got Wirtz in there, you've got Atletico in there. There's 4 players straight off the bat. And what they're coming up against is usually the champions and we're going to play a certain way against you. And I think that's probably been the case in quite a couple of games this season already. Whereas like a third of the team weren't there for being the champions and they're trying to gel.
A third of them aren't the champions.
Yeah, and so they're wearing the gold badge, do you know what I mean? But then they weren't part of that side. So when it comes to the way that Burnley played against us, you look at how intricate and how sort of precise it has to be. But you mentioned the word gelled a minute ago. It ain't there yet, even if it was like an open game of football. When you're playing a third of the pitch and there's 20 men, it's just not going to be there. You know, the Chiesa through ball and Bradley just a second late onto it. Wirtz a couple of times into Mo Salah from the right-hand side. Overhits the pass, Salah doesn't quite control it. These are things that it must be very difficult, I think, for players. They know where they're going to be, but it's that weight and it's that understanding that they haven't quite got yet. So it will just take time, but you can see the sort of green shoots of recovery almost, or whatever. They know what they're doing. Yeah, they know what they're doing. It's just they're not quite there yet.
There's one to me.
That's normal.
When Wirtz, he potentially could have the shot, but instead he looks to play like a pass.
Should have shot.
He probably should have had the shot, but that pass is genius, by the way.
But he's just missed 2 shots in the 5 minutes that preceded
it. Goes for the pass, But if Ekitike's even momentarily alive to verse that being possible, if he gambles at the back post, we're having a different conversation again. But it's a nearly day for me. You mentioned a couple of touches, a couple of passes. That's how it felt, and that's Liverpool not quite being the finely tuned machine that we want.
And look, you know, if you want a decent metric for a team that's going to get there, is the touches in the opposition box. In games like that, it's dead hard to actually get on the ball in the other team's box. So actually being able to do that, even though loads doesn't necessarily come from it, that's a step in the right direction. Because when you're truly screwed in them games, is you can't get in there, and all of your touches come in like a horseshoe around the 18-yard box. Like you're desperately trying to get in there, and everything bounces back, and you get nowhere near. So yeah, half decent. We will come back on the wider sense of Liverpool so far this season, but I just want to talk through some individual player performances. Chloe, Ryan Gravenberch, sick. That first half.
I mean, all game, even in the second half, like he was by far man of the match for me. In Reds, I thought he was brilliant. And I mean, it'd be rude of me to not mention his little outside of the foot dink over there, number 9, just to run onto it because he was taking the piss. I thought he was excellent. I thought him on the half turn and recycling the ball. You looked at someone who, we already had Wirtz up there in those areas, but Wirtz was being man-marked. He's a bit smaller. At times, we had to give the ball to Ryan Gravenberch and he had to get on the half-turn. And I think he does it so well. He controlled that game of football for me from a Liverpool perspective. And even when it felt like, you know, we were running out of options in that second half, he was always the available lad. He was always the one to keep it moving and not have too many touches of the ball. And I think, you know, on another day, if he takes a couple of shots in and around the area, you know, he might have a better chance. There was a couple that were laid back to him where he passes it one more time instead of having the shot himself. But for me, I just thought he was head and shoulders above any Liverpool player on that pitch. And he was the one who, you know, tried to win us the game whilst also just being excellent at recovering and getting back when they were on the break. Because you mentioned there, Virgin Canate did brilliantly, but Ryan Gravenberch was the other one to try and get back. It was obviously really good, and then Canate comes off and we go and put every player that we can on up front. And
I'm looking forward to seeing Chris's tactics board of our 1-5-4 formation at the end of that.
there was a lot of that, wasn't there?
But yeah, no, I agree, Chloe. I think that the highlight real moment is in the first half when we're really struggling to play through them. We play, and he does what is now the Ryan Gravenberch term, where he takes it in his stride, rolls his man, and then he goes shoulder to shoulder and gets round him again and accelerates forward. The move breaks down, but then he's ready to receive the ball again in a higher position, gets into the box. It's that's what we want more of from him, because that's how you change those games, is someone who looks at the landscape of the football pitch and goes, this isn't quite right. Gini Wijnaldum was very good at doing that for us. You know, like, there's certain players who'll do it by moving the ball, and there's other players who'll do it by moving themselves with the ball, and that he's definitely the latter.
He was. He completed 84 and 92 passes as well, which, you know, goes to show that in games like that, where they made the mistake, it was so easy for Liverpool to make a mistake and let them in, because you kind of lose concentration when nothing's happening up the other end of the pitch.
Well, look at the one big chance there.
Van Dijk first
was Van Dijk just being a bit lax in clearing it.
He won 7 duels. He did 3 successful dribbles, but the most important is he had 4 key passes and 4 shots, and it was kind of because, like, no one was. Like, you weren't having the shots inside the area, so it was who was on the outside, and a couple of them were blocked. But the 4 key passes, it just goes to show that he's playing in this DM role, and yet he's so good at that. But it's actually further up the pitch, you can tell he's been a box-to-box number 8 for Ajax. Like, you just can, because he's got every bit of knowledge of all of those positions where he needs to be in, and honestly I think he's started the season like he started it last season, and if he carries on like this, he can win another Player of the Year, he can be in Team of the Season again. He is being superb.
People do this quite quickly. I think things like FIFA and Footy Manager have a little bit of a say in this, where roles get redefined and everyone just kind of shifts in their mind and go, well, Ryan Gravenberch is our best number 6, therefore he's an absolute number 6. So you start to, like, morph what his ability set must be in your mind's eye, and you forget, and I said this during the watch along, but, like, Liverpool, Dan, we're a team of, like, wingers and 10s everywhere, like, with the exception of literally the goalie and the 2 centre halves. Everyone else has either played wing or 10 in their career, pretty much, and that's Gravenberch is another example. Like Chloe's dead right. He is brilliant in them areas. We just didn't get to see him in them last season.
No, he shouldn't come as a massive shock to us, given what he's done previously. And the player he once was, we, Arne Slot, has converted him into the 6, and the brilliant 6 at that as well. But you have to be spot on. I think it's interesting. That was a really unique Ryan Gravenberch performance, certainly over the past 12 months yesterday, because it was as if he just understood the assignment and just saw what was ahead of him and thought, well, really what they need up there is a bit of help and another body and somebody who can manoeuvre and carry the ball into more dangerous areas, and just to be an extra person, because he's the one who plays the 1-2 with Kerkez before Kerkez does what Kerkez does. It was a majestic performance, and Chloe said he was head and shoulders above. I completely agree. It was a class above for everyone on that pitch, and including Liverpool players at that as well, because honestly it just felt, and again, he has become, it's almost as if he took it upon himself to go, like I say, I know I'm the 6 by right here, but I'm not necessarily needed
for me to do it.
Yeah. So
Van Dijk was playing where he normally played.
At one point,
on the edge of the final
every single Liverpool player was in their half, wasn't it, for the majority of that first half in particular, and Gravenberch just went, I can do that. I've got that skill set. I can be an influence up there, and my word was an influence. He was absolutely exceptional.
You touched upon the Kerkez thing, Chris. Let's do it. It's just a divvy, isn't he? I mean, there's just no. If you're gonna do it, like, you know,
what
like,
a flick, but what a move, by the way.
That was the big frustration around it, because that's the game. You know, it's a moment of brilliance. Get on the end of it, cut the ball across, create a bit of madness or whatever. I mean, on the balance of how the game went, we would have crossed it to no one anyway. But as it was, you know, I think he's decided the second he steps foot into that penalty area, he's going to get fouled and he's going to go down. He's just forgot that you have to get fouled bit first, because he just looks.
I think there's a touch on his back, isn't there? And he's just thought, well, that'll do. In all honesty, and it's a shocking dive. And I'll tell you this, Andy Robertson would never, like, it's just, no, it's not right for me, and I don't like to see that from players anyway. Had he won a penalty, and
I'd have liked it loads more.
I'd have been all right with it. Like, if you're going to do it, don't get caught, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Football makes hypocrites of us all.
Absolutely. But listen, I think we were in a better position, to be honest, for him to just go and take the cross on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, by far. But by the way, the decisiveness from Arne Slot, like, this is, once again, how many times have we said this over, you know, the last 18 months? We've turned around and said the massive difference is decisiveness in those moments. He doesn't care who he hurts, who he upsets. If it's right for the team, he's doing it. He took Quansah off.
Unless it's taking Mo off, by the way.
Unless it's taking Mo off, then he has absolutely. But Ipswich, Quansah, instantly half-time hooked. We need to be better in these areas. And it's the fact that he comes out afterwards and he's like, I can just never be sure with Kirkes whether he's going to make the next foul or not. And it's like, jeez, like that is brutal. As if taking him off 38 minutes into a game didn't tell you everything. Him turning around and saying it was stupid, I've already told him that.
Yeah, it's like a tap the mic moment. Yeah. Just for anyone who missed that, ladies and gentlemen, I just thought he was reckless, he was going to get sent off.
Yeah. But look, another manager might wait till half time there because you're so close to half time. And
he had that one moment, didn't he, when he was tangled up with one of their attackers, and the whole crowd were baying for the red card, and Slot's just gone.
No. He's probably lucky in that incident because I think it might be Gravenberch or maybe you getting back to just be a presence. Because I think for a moment there, Kirk is isolated, and when he makes the foul, you do wonder. But like I said, just enough of a Liverpool membership in and around that to maybe sort of diffuse the situation. But it's not a glowing door. Whatever way you want to dress up, I had this conversation with you this morning, Chris. Honestly, absolutely right to do it. It's the sensible thing to do. But for Kirkes, it's not great, is it? It's not a great
not, but it's his own fault.
No, it is. It is, absolutely. But if you cannot be trusted by your manager to see out 7 minutes of footy, you're not. Look, there is that, but also maybe it's what you're going to say. Let's not forget the fucking referees are dog shit. So that's as much Arne Slot's indictment of how crap the officiating is.
I agree with that completely. I think I know what you're saying, Dan. I don't think it's a great look if you are Milos Kerkez. I don't, but I do think it's also in part because of the referee, and in part because you do have a lad on the bench that you trust. I think you've got Andy Robertson, who's played 37 minutes over the Bournemouth and the Palace game so far this season, and you know that he's a player who you can trust. So I don't think the substitution is made with Kostas Tsimikas on the bench. Whereas I do think it's made with Robbo, and I think that is more. You can look at it two ways. You can look at it, maybe it's an indictment on Kerkez, and I agree, but I think it's more of an indictment on how much he trusts Andy Robertson. I thought Robertson was brilliant when he came on anyway, and you can't trust the referees, as Paul said. So
I think it's a combined factor of all of them. You're right. Kerkez is a bit rash. He's only one more tackle away. Then all of a sudden, from that, the crowd are begging for it, and it's nothing. It's an innocuous nothing. It goes back to the Ugachukwu second. Like the first one we'll talk about in a second is, it's definitely a yellow and possibly more. But like it was just one of those tackles you pick a yellow card up in the flow of a football match. The second one, and also, in terms of keeping the door shut, if you're going to have so much possession, what you need is your tactical yellows in your back pocket, and he robbed us of that by being an idiot and diving. So officiating, not 100% trusted in Kerkez to keep his head. And as you said, we've built a squad. We've built a squad that's got Andy Robertson, and it's a football match, Chloe, where he doesn't need to do the defending. He doesn't need to go running back 80 yards and do last-ditch tackles. So actually you get to get the best of Robertson without necessarily exposing any of his potential current flaws. So it did work out for the best. Yeah,
and I thought he did well. When he came on, he has the first real chance of the game for us. And I think I literally said, I think I said at that moment, if that's anybody else actually taking the shot, then maybe you have a little bit more of a chance. But he put some good balls into the box in the second half. His overlap and runs was really good, because what that does is it takes the defenders away, which hopefully leaves. I mean, how many times did Gakpo have the space to cut inside? He could never finish it. They all basically went into the stands. But him doing those overlap and runs help, create the space in that area. And his ball to Chiesa the second half, someone else might put that away. He gets one. I mean, it was offside, so it wouldn't have counted anyway, but he actually has a header that he somehow puts wide, and how it's not on target, I'll never, ever, ever know. Like, that's a sitter. It was offside for him, but yeah, and like we said, experienced lad. And if he was to play a big role in any of the two games upcoming now, which both of them might be similar to the way Burnley set up, then he's had some match fitness. And yeah, he did have match fitness on international break, but that's a different, like, that's Scotland international. This is Liverpool. At least now he's up to speed, and you can, that actually I trust more Robertson in this game. You can start him from the off.
Yeah, do you think that sort of shows a pathway for Robertson into the team? Because the early start of the season, Robertson, as Chris mentioned, he's not getting a sniff in the early stages. But if that's going to be how a lot of football teams are going to set up against us, there's actually just no issue with playing Robertson in those games.
No, there isn't. And I think to your point about it not really sort of exposing some of his deficiencies and maybe the lack of pace Andy Robertson now possesses, and people have spoken about him coming up against Semenyo and different wingers already. There's talk already about Ndiaye this weekend and maybe the threat that he might pose and whether Robertson will be able to cope with that. So yeah, I think there is definitely scope for more minutes of Robertson when teams do set up in the way that Burnley did. But I think Kerkez is still better suited to that. Personally, the best version of Kerkez, this to me comes back around to what have we seen from Kerkez thus far. And I don't think there's any way of sugarcoating it. I think he's had a decent second half performance against Arsenal. Outside of that, I think there's more question marks and answers. The kid is going to be brilliant for Liverpool. I don't really doubt that. I just don't think he's had the start to life at Liverpool that he would have wished or hoped for. And I think, again, to come back to the point, when you haven't passed every single test for flying colours thus far, and then you get dragged at 38 minutes, it's like, he'll be thinking it. Oh, come on, like, I can't catch a break here, you know what I mean? So I do think it does add some value to the Robertson conversation, again, because of another little black mark against Kerkez's name, and Robertson getting the best part of, an hour and a bit ahead of a really big week into really difficult games for different reasons. I think Robertson's got more than the shout of getting some more minutes.
I think there's a conversation whether Kerkez should have just got the shirt straight away, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, I think Andy Robertson's a left-back who essentially plays there most of the season and wins us a league title. We sign a guy, and I'm all for it, get a guy in, but does he need to get the shirt straight away? For me, Robertson was the incumbent, and he didn't lose his shirt. He didn't put in performances whereby you think, oh, he's fucking shit. I said this all last season. The fact that people keep telling me he's dead fucking slow is mental when you watch him run forwards. Yeah. Because he runs forwards past players all of the time. I think, even if he has lost half a yard of pace, his positioning and his experience is enough to get him through games.
I'm not sure
I keep getting
about
told
that.
the opposite though. I've been Cam Robertson for a while, but everyone keeps banging on to me that he's done.
The ball back post last season was a real problem for Robertson.
I don't think we should over nostalgise Robertson's season. It was his worst season at Liverpool.
I agree. I don't think it was his best season at Liverpool. I think it was his worst as well. But I think it's been over-egged. How poor it was.
I that too. But for me, what last season for Robertson felt like was much more akin to Fabinho's last season. And it's not that he's lost all of his pace. It's actually it's the fine margins that you can't measure, and it's the amount of times, whether it's a bit of concentration, pulled,
the offside line and stuff like that.
The amount of times he just kicked the ball randomly into the middle of the pitch to one of their players. He did that like 3 or 4 times and got us into a number. I mean, Southampton away when he did it, Fulham away. He did it 3 times in the space of 30 seconds. He gave the ball away 3 times in the build-up to one of their goals.
It's the ball back post.
It's just it's the mental thing. It's that thing of Fabinho stopped being in the right place at the right time, and you couldn't work out why that was. So you presumed it was fatigue, but actually it was a little bit of sometimes you just when you creep over, it's hard to measure. I love him. For me,
on the ball was more of a problem with Robertson last season. In that, I think there was something that changed between slot system and Klopp's system that meant that Andy Robertson was found in a position that he looked really, really one-footed too often. And I don't know what that was, and it's just a theory. But like the amount of times last season I got really annoyed with him just having a left foot. He's always just had a left foot. But it never became more apparent in the way that his body position was in the build-up play, that it just ended up going always back inside to Virgil, and we couldn't really progress the ball through him and stuff. So, listen, I think, for me, I think Kerkez is going to be the best left back in the league. I think he's going to fulfil that at Liverpool. All I'm saying is I think we could have got a better Andy Robertson I'm not saying start him every game, but 1 game a week Andy Robertson. I think you get a better version than what we got last season. And you can pick and choose a little bit more. It also adds a little bit of something to Kerkez. You've got to prove yourself to get into this Liverpool side.
Well, how Robertson got in?
Yeah, exactly. I just think there was a different way maybe of us introducing Kerkez into the side.
No, I think that's fair. Let's talk, if you guys don't mind. I want to chat about Mohamed Salah. Chloe, he's not looked himself at all this season, on the pitch and off the pitch. My overriding thing is I think people are very quick to forget the impact of Diogo Jota on Mohamed Salah. I think that's a huge part, and anyone who saw him after the Bournemouth game can see how much and it's impacting them all. But he's the one who's so visibly impacted by it of the team because he's also underperforming on the pitch as well. But it's complicated, I think, because a bit like we talked a couple of things there. There's so many facets that you can't put your finger at it. He's a year older. He had a massive season last season. That's a high bar that it's very unlikely he'll ever be able to meet again anyway, just because of how good he was last season. He's got new players around him. Liverpool have had a slight tweak to the system as well. But for whatever reason, it hasn't worked for Salah so far this campaign, and we're in that territory where it's becoming a bit of like, we're seeing like Salah's anonymous and Salah's washed and Salah's legs have gone and all this kind of stuff. Where are you putting the finger?
Look, I think he's struggling to impact games, that's for sure. Whether we're not getting him in the correct positions, maybe that's the problem for us. But he certainly, I mean, I say he's not having impact on games. You know, he comes up with the assist where Sobo does the step over for Rio and Gamoa. It's still good though. He gets it. He did eventually get his goal on the opening day of the weekend, so he carried on that run. He steps up in big moments like that. You know, there's a lot of players in those moments who'd feel the weight of that on their shoulders and miss it. And I think even Slot said he thought Mo would miss it, or at least that was the quote that Sky put out.
Someone misquoted, but
there you go.
Contentious that one.
There you go. Sorry, I read
Sky
that
did
someone.
put that though. You are right.
I'm talking about someone quote tweeted it like they've just made that up.
Sky quoted Arne Slot as to saying, "My first thought was," and I'm paraphrasing here, so forgive me.
Well, I paraphrased, it's fine.
Sky basically said that Arne Slot said that his first thought was that Mo would miss the penalty.
With the video?
With the video.
Of him not saying that, Dan?
Of him not saying that at all. Yeah, it didn't say that in the slide, never left his mouth, those words. It was very odd. And everyone in the comments, rightfully including us, said, I'm not sure he said that, to be honest with you, Mr. Sky Sports Premier League. But there we are.
Anyway, yeah, I think Liverpool are struggling to get him into the correct areas. Look, we've mentioned Jota, and we can only imagine the impact that that's having on those players. But also, he had a great bond with Darwin Núñez, he had a great bond with Diaz, and those two sometimes made up the other part of the front three. And now they've gone as well. So I think he's got to get used to the way the other players who we've bought play with him and the spaces that they take up. But yeah, for me, it's a struggle because there was so many people, me included, going, what does he need to do to take him off? Like, what does he have to, like, we were all sat in that away and going, he's Mo Salah, so he's got to stay on. But if that's any other name on the back of his shirt, he's getting hooked off.
Chloe, we had this, people remember, a PSG away, where he absolutely stunk the gaff out there, and we brought him off and Harvey Elliott come on and scored. You know, so that was a thing. That was a thing that happened, and he has definitely done that in the past. But also, Dan, you know, it's one of them. You have a penalty, and if you wanted to have someone on the pitch to take the penalty at the end of that game in that situation, Salah would be the player that you'd choose to do it. So that becomes the vindication for keeping him on.
Yeah, it most definitely does, yeah. And you're right to say, because there is nobody we'd rather have. And I've brought into question my belief on Mo Salah's penalty ability in the past. But yeah, ultimately, when it comes down to that moment in particular, when it's so late in the game and it is clutch, as the kids say, it has to be Mo Salah. It can be nobody else. But that's not to say, and Chloe, he was really poor in the game. He's definitely struggling right now. And we expect so much more from Mo Salah, it's fair to say, given what he's done. But he can't be exempt from criticism. No. Like, nobody is. Like, and there's no two ways about it. Whatever it is, there's a whole myriad of factors that you've alluded to there. And it might just be a little dip in form as well. We've seen Mo Salah have dips in form. Normally it comes post-AFCON. Worryingly, this is very much pre-AFCON. So I'm horrified to see what post-AFCON Mo Salah look like this time around. But you do keep him on the pitch for that. And it doesn't always come in the shape of a penalty, but it comes in a moment more often than not. And it's Mo Salah. And yeah, it's hard because... And again, we don't have a natural understudy to him right now. Even when Isak's in the squad, all of a sudden, if Chiesa and Ngamoa, then we do have a front three to call upon. So maybe that changes the conversation because Chiesa can play out there. Chiesa goes centre forward because Ekazike seemingly still can't do 90 minutes. So is Frimpong the guy? We end up with Frimpong up there anyway later on. So for me, it's properly tough around Salah, but you just want to almost play him through it. I don't think you benefit at all from taking Salah out of the firing line. He doesn't want to be taken off in any circumstance. He wants to play every minute. He'll want to play next week against Southampton just to play his way back into form, and that's what he needs right now.
Just to talk through some of the bits in specifics, Chris, I mean, we talk about the change in personnel. I think Salah is starting very wide. Now, that's not the first time we've started seasons with Salah seemingly far too wide in order to, he needs to be in that danger zone, which is like the bottom, as you're looking at the 18-yard box, bottom right-hand corner of the 18-yard box. That's where he scores most of his goals from. So you need to get him there, and having him be as far away from that as his position would allow seems antithetical towards that. But he's got to have lads to play with. And I think there is a little bit of that sometimes. Ekitike doesn't want to play on that side of the pitch, so he's naturally drifting over to the left. So he's miles away from his centre forward, which when it was Darwin was the opposite. You've then got, he's played loads with Szoboszlai, but Szoboszlai's in a different position. The midfield structure's different.
Paul, it's all the three players that he interacts with, most have changed. Yeah. Are you surprised that it's not working quite as well? Because I'm not. He's got a completely different right back. He's played with the same right back for the last 8 years, give or take. You know what I mean? He's got a centre midfielder that was Szoboszlai last season, and for the most part is now Wirtz over there. And he's got a centre forward that's changed. They're the three players that he interacted with most on the football field, and every single one of them is different. Yeah. So, of course, it's going to be slightly different. He's got a manager who is, I think, leaning more towards the future in the signing of Alexander Isak as well as Hugo Ekitike. I think it tells you what Liverpool's position is now, looking back at the transfer window and seeing those two huge signings, and you think to yourself, well, Liverpool, I've seen people say, well, why did Liverpool give him a big contract if they're going to go out there and sign Isak and Ekitike? Because Liverpool are in the position, like I am, where they can have the cake and fucking eat it. You know what I mean? Like, Liverpool are looking at it and going, well, I can sign Salah and I can afford two brand new centre forwards and play for the future. Okay, sounds, no worries. We don't have to pick.
So do you think this is us evolving away from Salah? Is that what you're saying? As well as the players think?
I think it is. I think it has to be a natural evolution away from Mo. That doesn't mean to say that it's this year or next year. It could be the year after that or whatever. It could be this year. I don't know the answers to that one. But for me, I think Liverpool are looking at it and going, well, right, what are we going to do with this position? Where are the goals going to come from? How do we utilise Salah to get the best out of Isak and Ekitike and Florian Wirtz on the football field? There's a period of adaptation for Salah, of course there is. I mentioned those three players have changed. He's not in form as well, I think it's fair to say. All that, is he looking ahead at the African Cup of Nations, thinking about injuries and everything else? Is he getting really annoyed after 8 years of never winning a foul, even when it's clearly obvious that he should have won the foul, and he's getting penalised for these things as well, and it's just got too much for him? There's the Jota thing, like you mentioned. There's so many things that I think it's too easy in this 24/7 sort of cycle that we're in to go, oh, that's it, shit, bump, move on. There's so much to discuss around it.
I think they're all absolutely perfect points. I really do. I think the balance of the side has definitely shifted. Maybe we aren't quite as built around Salah-centric now, but then fundamentally, when he's getting opportunities to do things that would just come naturally to Salah, first touch, final ball, there's a cross yesterday that he plays that he gets wildly wrong.
The right foot as well. It's terrible.
But some of the decision making as well, there's, again, just in his own personal game right now, his own personal performances are nowhere near the standard, as well as interacting with his teammates and all that sort of stuff. He's not at it.
No, he's not. It looks like he's running in mud at times, doesn't he? He just can't seem to hit the ball where he wants to hit the ball. And again, that might be just the mental thing as well, coming off the summer and everything else. So,
I mean, see, when Conor Bradley's on and he hasn't played loads of footy with Bradley because Bradley's not played loads of football. But what you get in Conor Bradley is he'll just make runs for Salah, for the benefit of Mo Salah. And that is to say, you can either pass it to him or I'll take a man away. And then when you want to cut inside, there's one less guy between you and the 18-yard box or the goal. So many times Salah picked it up and he gets his head up. There's a diagonal line of 3 Burnley players between him and even the area he wants to get into. That's not like there's then probably another centre-half and a goalkeeper if he was to kick the ball. So having someone there around him, and the Wirtz thing again, he's drifting more left. There was a brief spell in the start of the second half when we changed the shape a little bit, when Szoboszlai moves into midfield, and it looked more archetypal Klopp Liverpool midfield. It was Gravenberch, it was Wirtz left, it was Szoboszlai right, and you're like, cool, Wirtz can go and play with the lads on the left, Szoboszlai can play with the lads on the right, and then that kind of melted away a little bit. And so there's definitely more to be done, but equally we could be plugging Alexander Isak into this team next week and you go, all right, this is Isak's team now, because we just don't know. We're living in the past of Alex Isak's future. You know what I mean? That's the thing we're working towards. So yeah, funny. Let us know in the comments what you think on the Mo Salah thing. There's definitely a lot of facets to it.
There's also vindication keeping him on, isn't there, from the manager?
Yeah,
because more times than not, he does actually end up doing something even when he's having a stinker.
Absolutely. Also, we discussed him on the player ranking show yesterday. Do check that clip out on YouTube or the full show on Redmen Plus, because he got a Yemesen rating, but also scored the decisive winning goal, which is mad. Which poses the question of what does a goal do to your rating and ranking? Should it inflate it, or should you judge it on an all-round performance? Again, comment section underneath for that one. He is up to 4th on the all-time Premier League top goal scorers list. Is he 20 behind Rooney?
I don't know.
I think that's the case. I think he's 20 behind Wayne Rooney.
I thought it was something like that behind Harry Kane.
I'll check.
We'll double check that, because someone sent it to me and I've not looked.
No,
That's from memory. And if I'm right, you're all fucking stupid for not going with me on
behind
it.
Wayne Rooney.
What's Harry Kane, please?
He's 25 behind Harry Kane, if my maths is correct.
So that's
So wait there a second. So Mohamed Salah went to the all-time 4th top goal scorer in the Premier League list. He is 20 behind Wayne Rooney.
You shouldn't have framed it as a fucking question.
No.
That's why I'm saying it's a game. Mohamed Salah moved up to 4th in the all-time Premier League top goal scorer list. 20 behind Rooney. Can he catch him, Chris Pager?
Yeah, he can. Absolutely.
Will he?
Yeah, he will. Next season.
72 behind Alan Shearer for what it's worth.
How many?
Well, we're talking.
Not
72.
It's out of the question.
Not at us.
What?
He might do, but not at us.
Mo Salah?
Why not?
Where?
I've got no idea. Maybe he'll go and join the Hendo at Brentford. Who knows?
It's the path well trodden at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. The Liverpool.
Fabio Carvalho. Oh, come on. Not again. Come on.
He's not getting anywhere near Shearer's, is he?
No. And the hard thing is, he's got 2 goals this season.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, he's 1 and 2. So he's taking the long all right, isn't he? Even though it doesn't feel like it. If you'd been in scintillating form, you'd be like, whoa, go on, have a bit of that. Whereas, as much as I've gone through all of those things, there's a little part of me that's looking at the end of this season, and there's some looming cloud of Saudi money floating towards us on the winds, and you're thinking, okay, well maybe that won't get to be.
We're so terribly fickle, aren't we?
Yeah. Football.
This is just ridiculous.
This season, were we not for AFCON, I'd be all in on this season for that, But he misses
for Shearer's.
No, that is some season. Is that just about Eclipse's first season? No,
that'll put him on
AFCON genuinely.
22 Premier League goals this season would match Wayne Rooney's Premier League record, which is very
doable.
How
many pens did he get last year? Nearly 10.
I don't know.
That's a great question.
He got a few last season, Maybe
in the Premier League, Salah scored 9 penalties.
So let's say he gets another 9, he's on 11 there.
Yeah.
It is doable this season.
He'll probably get 20.
The problem is, he just, am I right in saying it, last season he didn't seem to get braces?
Just scored ones.
Yeah, just seemed to score more ones. He used to get braces and stuff, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, we've got United coming up.
The derby.
Yeah, fingers crossed for him. Okay. The question of the podcast then. Liverpool, Chloe Bloxham, sit top of the pile, 4 wins from 4, the only team unbeaten, and with a perfect record, I should say, in the Premier League so far. We've had nothing but late winners to achieve it, though.
Yeah.
So have
5 late winners in 4 games. That's some going in.
So, yeah, look, the question is, have Liverpool been lucky this season?
In moments, however, to do it 4 games on the bounce, you need a bit more than luck to do it, to make sure that it's repetitive. Luck would be once every couple, maybe 2 a season. To be so consistent with it, you've got to put yourself in the areas, you've got to keep going until the very end, never give up. It takes a lot to still do stuff like that. The likes of a handball, yeah, I guess so, because let's be honest, I don't think we were scoring if we'd have played till tomorrow.
Yeah, the only time anyone's ever kicked the ball deliberately for a handball was Sadio Mane in the Champions League final.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, so yeah, you might have got lucky with that, but there's a lot of there's a lot of not giving up, being in the right areas at the right time, and also some of the football. I mean, I'll go back to it. That Newcastle winner is a glorious bit of football, by the way. It takes more than luck to create that from, I think it was Harvey Elliott at the back to the Ryan Gravenberch, passed it into Chiesa, then to Salah, the dummy. There's a lot more than luck for goals like that. So are we lucky to have come away with a point, to come away with 3 points in the last minute from a pen? Yes. Are we lucky to consistently do that for the past 4 games? No and yes. It's got to run out at some point, but I think it takes more than luck to do that consistently.
Can I play half devil's advocate here? Because I remember sitting here last season and the season before doing bias, talking about Arsenal doing the same and saying it's awfully early on in the season and not sustainable.
Yeah.
And why I'm only playing half devil's advocate here is because Liverpool have won stuff.
Yes.
And know how to win stuff, and that's what great players
and winners
do.
win.
And winners win. And that's the difference between us and Arsenal of last season and the season before, is these guys know what it takes to win games of football.
Talking about that, I actually saw a tweet and someone said they can't keep doing this. And I think an Arsenal fan popped back.
It was always about Arsenal last year.
Yeah. But,
and we were right, by the way.
We were, but an Arsenal fan literally put back, they did this at times last season when Arsenal was still in with it. Like, they can do this. And I think the difference is, like you said there, we've got the know-how. We've not got, look, there is a lot of expectation, and rightfully so, on us. But, like, Arsenal have been doing it.
Nice. They've been giving themselves trophies.
Yeah, it's nice.
Where
Arteta's
Liverpool
been handing out a light bulb, I think, was their trophy at the start of the season.
But then getting someone to pick up from them.
That was good. Where Liverpool, they won last year. They were in the League Cup final last year. They've still got the Champions League, and that'll be a massive step for Liverpool to look at. It is early, but at the same time, you've got to win when you're not playing well, and that's what we're doing.
Liverpool's biggest challenge in the early stage of the season for me was that lack of gel and having changed so many players, and how do you go again? And you needed to hit the ground running. And okay, we haven't done it in like that smooth way, but this was our big. These early fixtures have been ridiculous as well in terms of some of the things we've come up against. And to be able to come out with maximum points, it's not been done exactly how you would manage it. But I'd also say, I think, look, if you need to rely on handballs, penalties to win games of football, but like I'll come to that. But like, if you need to rely on handball penalties, then that's luck. That is definitely luck. But all the other ones, like that, depends whether you want to be a twat about it or not. Because Szoboszlai's free kick is lucky because you don't score from him, because the XG is so tiny. Then you've got to put it down to luck, but also it is skill. You know, he is a trained footballer doing a thing that you're allowed to do. You're allowed to score free kicks. It's a legitimate way to score a goal.
That's not a good side because they score from corners.
Exactly. You know, Chiesa, he scores late, but he scores within the realms of the football match. He comes onto the. You're allowed to do that.
You're allowed subs as well. You know,
your substitutes are allowed to come on and win games for you. And I know we've done that twice with Rio and Gamora as well. Young, super talented lads come off the bench and score on their first senior appearance. You know, in that way, not quite the same because I know he's played in the cup and that, but like Michael Owen did that. Like, you know, Cesc Fabregas comes in and has worldy games at 16, 17 for Arsenal and stuff. So these are all legitimate things and ways you're allowed to. Football matches now last 100 minutes because of added on time. So as long as you scored enough goals to win in that time, then it's cool. It is not. You would imagine there will come a point where time will run out if you keep having to do that week in, week out. But that's the challenge, right? To kind of rob us of it just feels petty to me. It feels like people looking at it and going, well, what the fuck do we do? They won the league last season. We don't really want them to win it again, so we've got to find something to pick at them. We did this with Man United for 20 years. Like, there's something going wrong there. It probably is.
How many times last season did people turn around and say, Liverpool have won a game, 1-0, 2-0, but they've actually not played that well. They've not got out of second gear. And, like, that was seen as a good thing from our perspective and quite a negative thing from others, because you need to do that against bigger opposition. But for me, the thing is that we've gone 4 from 4, and at some point you hope it clicks. At some point, I mean, like you've just said, we're plugging Alexander Isak into this soon. You know, at some point you're hoping it gels and it works out, and Florian Wirtz is the player that we all think he can become. So what you've got to do is, when you're not playing well, just dig deep and find different ways to win football games, and Liverpool are doing that. And yes, it will run out at some point, but hopefully, you know, things start clicking for us and we start games better. And look, if Ibu Konate headers one of those like 7 chances he has from a corner in the first half into the back of the net instead of heading it like miles above the crossbar from a yard out.
It was impressive, that wasn't it? How did he manage to do that?
It was.
Underneath the crossbar. I'm not quite sure how gravity and science has got it up there, to be honest. Like.
But if one of those chances goes our way, maybe, you know, it's a more open game of football. Bournemouth, for the large majority of that game, Liverpool were decent, we were sound, we lost concentration. Newcastle, the same, actually, once they had the red card, even from 30 minutes in, up until we conceded, and that really caused us to worry. We were actually fine in that game of football. So I think we've had spells of playing well. We just need to make it all come together for a full 90 minutes.
Well, so we've taken out, Chris pointed out early on in the podcast about like those players you've dropped in, you know, in the front 4, there's 2 brand new lads gone in there into the champions and expected to be as good or fit the system exactly the way they did. That's not, and again it goes back to it. If Alexander Isak had been bought as was intended at the start of pre-season and he'd had all that training, he might have started this and we'd be having a different conversation. But Liverpool finding ways to win is no bad thing. It's only if it continues over a longer period of time, but we'll get found out soon enough if it's a problem.
Also, teams are playing us differently than last season, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, you just have to look at the way that Arsenal played against us and then Burnley played against us and everything else. So I think that needs a bit of adaptation from Slot's point of view as well. Yeah. You know, I still think what he did yesterday in game with his substitutions, it did work. It just, we didn't see the goal come from those sorts of substitutions like we have in the past. So there is so much to sort of take in at the moment, and the Jota thing hangs over everything as well. Yeah. So there's lots to be pleased about, and I think for me, I actually like the fact that we're sat at the top of the table with loads more improvement to be able to be done, because it's much better than being in. It's just a much better place to be, looking down on everyone thinking, God, we're going to get miles better here.
And honestly, name me a Premier League winning team that doesn't have luck on their side.
Oh,
you can't win it.
You've always got to have a bit of luck on it.
You cannot win the league without luck on your side.
Listen, I want to win the Premier League and the European Cup this season, and being in your best form in August isn't conducive to
PSG,
because we did that last season, by the way, and it's just too long a stretch to sustain unbelievable form. You want to hit your best form at the back end of the season when those Champions League quarters, semis and finals come around, and if that's what we're trending toward, I'm here for it, mate, and I'll sit and watch lucky wins that keep us top of the league all season until that point.
Absolutely. Yeah, let us know your thoughts on that whole debate in the comments. The thing that's going to roll on for 2 more days in the media until we play another game of football. Let us know in the comments. Daniel Usher sent a super chat in before we take the break. What's your favourite third kit game? Mine is probably Bayern Munich away in the Champions League 2019.
Yeah,
I was there for that as well. It's a great show.
That was a hell of an away.
The belter away.
There was a couple in the orange kit, do you remember? In the 17-18 Champions League run, which was a bit of a belter as well.
Salah
was that when they'd not lost for like 2 years there as well, though?
Until we turn up.
Salah took the absolute mick.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's in the box.
5-0, Old Trafford.
I mean,
was that
that was the away, wasn't it?
That was the away. That's sad.
But I think Southampton, the purple, is worthy of a mention in this. The Hendo and Salah.
Was that where he was on like a spell of not scoring at all, and everyone was like, "What are you doing?"
Pass.
Salah takes his top off and then ducks. I think it's Robbo and Hendo at the same time.
It makes Robbo disappear.
It's a belt to that. That's a shout.
That Porto one you mentioned was an incredible day. It was raining like mad over there.
It was when Ali was invented.
It was that day. That was boss.
Remember us trying to get across that bridge?
So me and Chris went for an explore. We'll walk across this bridge. We managed to get hold of brollies, but like they couldn't. There wasn't an angle you could have them at that stopped you from getting wet. We got to the other side. Well, we can't see any reason to be on this side of the bridge. And turn back and walk back across it, absolutely soaked sideways. There you go.
But I think Daniel that Bayern Munich away
by far.
was
Yeah, it's
just
a good shout.
unbelievable as well.
Terrific shout. Terrific.
Sadio
Mourinho coming out of that stadium was everything. Coming down the steps.
Yeah, really, really
Saw Sammy Hyypiä. That was nice as well.
Absolutely, yeah. That was one, but there was a boss night on, like miles away from the ground, and I was backstage for that, just having a laugh and having a few beers, and then there was loads of people who I thought would be going the game, probably like Jamie Webster. And
you were late meeting us, weren't you?
I got to my seat the moment kickoff happened, and that because I was just like, but someone will be going that way, and I'll jump in with someone. I was like, and then I went, you just got tickets? And no, I'm just going to watch it here. Fuck! I fucking ran out of that place. Yeah, ended up getting to the train and got there just in time for it. That is a steep ground as well. There is a lot
the Bobby
of
Firmino song coming out of that stadium.
Heavy went off, didn't it? Yeah, it went off.
It was indeed.
Is that the most outrageous? What's the most outrageous goal you've seen in terms of just audacity? Because that Mane one.
It's up there, but it's not.
I mean,
Didn't he do something against
he rolled
Watford?
Manuel Neuer,
Yeah. He sent him into no man's
He
land.
did. He did.
Messi's free kick was pretty good, didn't count for that. Like,
you see that social video Liverpool put out where they were asking them, like, oh, what's the best free kick they've ever seen? And most of them were going to Szoboszlai. And Van Dijk was just like,
Messi against us.
And then Andy Roberts at the end went, Shinsuke Nakamura, playing for Celtic, blah, 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 blah. Like, oh.
You see it, it's worldly. Like, he did score some belter free kick. Suarez against Newcastle?
Yeah.
Jose Enrique, the chest down, man. Keep that up there in terms of audacity.
Any of them against Norwich.
Suarez, full stop.
Suarez, like the halfway line one against Norwich, when he just chested down and goes,
outrageous.
That's up
there.
Yeah, brilliant. Anyway, we've divested, but like, fine. Thank you so much.
Also, Robbie Fowler's against Schmeichel.
The near post. Yeah.
Outrageous.
Absolutely. Great times. What were yours of all of those questions in the comments section underneath? Check back in a second. Stay tuned. We will be discussing Liverpool, Atletico Madrid and more.
Hey everyone, it is a new month, which means only one thing. It's time for a new Legend giveaway here at the Redmen TV. If you are already an existing Legend subscriber, you're already in the hat. But if not, what are you waiting for? Get yourself subscribed now as a Legend and you will be in with a chance of winning this stunning piece of memorabilia. That's right, an iconic vintage Liverpool shirt signed by former Reds captain, legendary Phil Thompson. Not only was he playing career boss, he went on to have a pretty significant coaching career at the football club as well. So proper Liverpool legend status right there. You will get loads of amazing perks as a Legend subscriber, as well as a chance of winning that beautiful piece of kit alongside me. Get yourself there now. Get it done. Redmenplus.com. Legend subscriber. See you soon.
We're back. Sorry, that debate has been going on.
We were just talking about goals. Great goals.
Chloe brightly pointed out Emre Can's overhead kick against Watford. See, Szoboszlai won goal of the month today as well. Rightly so.
Have you seen Richarlison's absolutely furious about it?
It's not like him.
It's not like him to not be level-headed about things related to Liverpool football.
He scored 2 world-class goals, I'll give him that way.
Well, were they as good as Szoboszlai's?
His overhead kick one's really good. Like the commentator says. The commentator though says you'll be hard pressed to find another goal as good as that in the next 9 months, and he must have thought that's me done here. Goal of the month, boxed. Even Match of the Day's commentator was like kind of like canvassing for votes for it by the end of it. And no, suppose like absolutely smart. I think Ngamoa came third, didn't he? In the vote for it.
It was sensational.
What a finish!
Lovely stuff. Okay, we're back in action. Before we know it, Atletico Madrid, Champions League.
The Spanish Burnley.
Yeah, God. I have just like Nam style flashbacks to COVID and Atletico Madrid and
we've beaten them in the Champions League since then, but I still am ready to just give them a whooping for that one again.
We've beaten them twice in the Champions League since, exactly.
The first game, wasn't it? Away in the yellow.
Yeah.
That was the first game at Naby
Keita.
Yeah. Atletico Madrid, Chris, if nothing else, we kind of know what the pattern of play is going to look like. We've seen it quite a lot already this season from opponents. They've obviously got quality as well, so you guess it'll be much more Arsenal-like than Burnley-like. But it is at Anfield. It is under the lights and all the normal stuff that we would say in this situation.
Yeah, I think I watched a bit of Atletico in the league last season, and they seem to have changed a little bit from what their normal sort of way was. I don't know whether that was just the games that I'd watched or whatever, because in the Champions League, they kind of just looked like the same Atletico as normal. But, you know, I think the addition of Griezmann again back into that side last season really sort of got them up a level. Alvarez, obviously, good player, likely to miss this one, of course. So probably won't be at their absolute best. But we just know what Simeone's about, don't we? We know what he's going to, you know, come to Anfield and do. I think it's a little bit different because of the way it's a league. Does it mean he's going to go for the 3 points more? I don't know. I don't think so. But, like, probably should.
This goes back to this thing. We've had one season's experience of this new format. It's nowhere near enough for me to intrinsically understand how people will approach these games at all. I still don't get it.
I think you just need to win one of your 3 away games and win all your home games, and you're in.
Yeah, and you can't imagine Liverpool is pigeonholed as the one where they should be getting the 3 points, you'd hope. But then again, not like managers.
But that doesn't mean you give up on it.
Yeah, exactly. They don't think that way, do they? I mean, they are 11th in La Liga at the moment. They've only won 1 game this season out of 4. They sit on 5 points behind Real Betis and Osasuna and Elche, the giants that they are. So it's obviously not going all their way so far, Chloe, we've done this a lot in the Champions League over the years. It's probably not the worst time of the season to play them, but they will probably be looking at us in the same thing and saying, well, if we can defend resolutely, Liverpool haven't quite clicked in the attacking sense yet. A draw would be a good point for them in the balance of things.
Yeah, it would be, especially, you know, with the form that they're in. I understand that people are looking at them as still a defensive side that they always were, but I have seen actually over the last couple of years them be a little bit more expressive up top and actually, you know, go for it. The thing is, you know, without Alvarez, you know, that really does hamper how much you can do that. But we know how tough it's going to be. We know how much of a good manager he is. Him and Slot have had, you know, beef in the past as well. So he'll probably be even more up for it. But from a Liverpool perspective, it's under the lights at Anfield, and the atmosphere should be absolutely incredible. You need to. For them, they'll be looking at it as a distraction away from the league. We don't have to think about that. It's a different competition to try and, you know, plunge yourself into, but at the same time you come into the home of the England champions, and Anfield will be a fortress.
I wonder whether, just in terms of Slot and the players, certainly the ones who were there last season, Dan, are a bit more laissez-faire about this now. Seeing how last season went, of like, we were perfect up until the point where it was won, and then obviously we put a mad team out against PSV. And it did us no favours, because ultimately we ended up with Paris Saint-Germain. And whether you look at how PSG did it and how Real Madrid did it, you know, last season, he might just think, well, I'm not, again, no way, but we're not thinking let's try and win this game. But whether there is that, like, it's all or nothing, all the pressure on. And I think this a little bit links into the Alexander Isak question. And that is to say, we were wondering where he was at the weekend. And the thing is, he took a somewhat of a gamble by not even having him on the bench when he quite clearly would have been available to put some minutes in if he really wanted him. He will have him on the bench in midweek because 2 reasons: he's spent a lot of money on him, and the other one is Case is not registered, so he's going to be needing someone who can play in our attacking lineup. But yeah, it's whether he sees this as a do or die or win it all means necessary kind of game, or does kind of go with the flow of the match.
Yeah, I definitely think he will view and sort of take the learnings from last season as sort of alleviating some of the jeopardy and the intensity on these early fixtures. But having said that, the flip side of the conversation is, do you take care of business early and then start rotating earlier, essentially? Because I do think maybe we went a game too far in hindsight in terms of what we were trying to do and what we were trying to accomplish from winning the Champions. We were having conversations last year about, you know, maybe bringing some sort of plate for winning the league because we were on course to do that, and it felt like we were very much geared up.
I was kind of to say we were having the conversation.
Yeah, very much you were having, or suggesting that maybe there should be some sort of plate for winning the Champions League. Yeah, because that's because it was so new and the format was obviously different, we all felt like that was worthwhile and it was a venture that was, something would be gained from it, but it turns out it wasn't. It was far from it. So I still maintain that Liverpool and Arne Slot will want to, again, get points on the board early so then you can relax quicker, essentially. Whether we get to sort of like game 5, 6, 7, and that's maybe then when you start seeing, okay, we can afford to be a bit clever with our team selection and what have you. But at Anfield in particular, to your point about winning your home games, against a side of Atletico Madrid's stature, albeit 11th in the league, that is must-win, totally for me. Because I think if you get off to a slow start as well, you're just putting more pressure on yourself further down the line. Where's the benefit in that?
Am I right in saying there's more incentive to do better this season because of the home games being second?
They have changed it around slightly, but again, I don't think they've actually altered it enough to sort of counteract what we missed out on last year, you know what I mean?
Anfield second leg in the quarters and semis all day. I would go for that because I just think it's such a big advantage for us.
For us, definitely, but it's...
I mean, we had that in the...
But it was a level of opponent.
If you get a choice of it, though.
Yeah, of course, but it was a level of opponent that I felt like they missed a trick on. Because I don't think it was too out of the realm of possibility to make it so if you did finish top of the group, you could get a easier, in inverted commas, opposition, and that just wasn't the case as we found out.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how it goes. But look, again, it's a massive game of football. It's a bit of a showpiece. Hopefully, Julian Alvarez won't be involved in this one, which would be very nice because he was very, very good. They did actually, just on their form, they got their first win of the season against Villarreal at the weekend, so they're trending up.
I just looked at the 4 games that they've played so far this season, and it was 60% possession to them, 60% possession to them, 58% possession, 60% possession.
I'll give them the ball then because they don't know what to do with it.
No, it's just different, isn't it, to what we've seen from Atletico?
It's not fully adventurous, but there's definitely more.
They still don't create a lot of chances. They actually create a few big chances looking at the statistics and stuff.
They did play Alves and Elche in those games, which it's one of them, innit? You know what to expect. They're going to come in, they're going to do all the dark arts, they're going to kick you, volley you, be compact, and trust that the good players that they've got are enough to cause you problems.
Good keeper as well.
Yeah.
I
forget. It's mad because he just doesn't get talked about in best keepers in the world, and he's always been one of the best keepers in the world.
Yeah.
I remember there was when we were going for Alisson, he was the other player who was,
absolutely.
Well, he's been spoke about
just as good, hasn't he?
And look, ultimately,
him and Courtois as well. You've got to give them the credit.
The reason we don't get past them, during COVID is because of him. It was a tale of two goalkeepers, isn't it? Adrian has a stinker and he has the game of his absolute life against us. I think I called him superhuman after the match because it was ridiculous. It was utterly ridiculous. It wasn't superhuman. Me, who very much got COVID from that game.
And half of Liverpool.
And half of Liverpool as well.
Wild times then, weren't they?
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. Yeah. The entire Spanish football had been shut down. You could not watch Atletico Madrid play football in Spain, but you could get on a plane and watch them play in another mad.
I remember afterwards there was a heat map of where COVID got to after that game, and there was a huge proportion of fans from Iceland who came over, and Iceland got it after the Atletico Madrid game in Reykjavik because of all people that went to that Atletico Madrid game.
Diego Simeone's super spreaders.
Cheltenham was on the same time as well, the same week. I remember it vividly. And I remember somebody...
That and the fucking Phonics. Stereophonics did it as well, didn't they?
Leaning down to shake Klopp's hand or give him a high five, and Klopp was livid, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely
weird
fuming.
Times.
Yeah, Anyway, Merseyside derby looming as well at the weekend. I haven't really thought about how that one's going to play out, Chloe, but I am glad it is the Anfield one first. We can deal with going the hill, Dick, once the wheels have fallen off their season a little bit later on. But yeah, it's David Moyes at Anfield. Everything should work in our favour. And I also don't hate an upbeat Everton side with good players in it, because it's not really what they are. So yeah, cool.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he gives some licence to, come at us and attack, because if that's the case, then Liverpool have a better chance of, picking them apart and having chances of our own instead of them just sat deep. But look, they're going to be even tougher because they actually have something about them this season. Hopefully Michael Keane starts. That's my only hope and pray, really. I'd enjoy him starting.
Yeah, but whenever he starts, he gets no goal, doesn't he?
But I am hoping, I am more nervous about this game of football than I have been in the last couple of years, and a Merseyside derby always makes me worry, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It could be Moyes' time finally to get that big important win for him at Anfield, or it could just be more of the same that we've had for
hopefully it's more of the same
whole of his career up to this point. Yeah, they are very upbeat about things, which is, I mean, it's this time of the year, isn't it? If there's ever a time where you're going to find an upbeat Evertonian, it is normally within the first 4 to 5 games of the Premier League.
Yeah.
They'd have gone top if they'd beat Villa, wouldn't they? For a bit. Again.
Ancelotti, was that Ancelotti?
That was a thing, wasn't it?
Like 7-7 or something.
Yeah,
like.
same again this weekend. They didn't, because they never beat Villa. But yeah, exactly the same.
It's a good time to be an Everton fan, though. Fair play to them. Like, they've got a nice looking stadium there. They've got a good team by all accounts. They look like they're really enjoying Jack Grealish. It's good for him. He seems like one of football's good guys, actually, to be fair, doesn't he? So, and it's quite nice to have, like, you know, half a City that are also happy.
Yeah.
The other half of the City also happy. So
yeah, absolutely. They're currently
that though this weekend.
Level 6th in the Premier League with Sunderland, which, you know, it's one of those things where
it's like the late 90s.
It's just Phillips and Quinn up front.
Big man, little man, the classic.
It's funny because the league is so hilarious at this time of the season. You've got to keep an X amount of points behind such and such, because you can go Everton are above Manchester City in the league, right? They're a point ahead of Manchester City in the league, but they are also level on points with Sunderland, who are also. And so, would you be saying, "Oh, that's Sunderland gonna have a much better season than Man City"? No, you wouldn't. So yeah,
I tell you what, that fifth,
read it with a pinch of salt.
That 5th to 8th there, Everton, Sunderland, City, Palace, is kind of like late 90s.
Yeah,
that's what it kind of would have looked like. City might be a bit high there.
Yeah, probably are.
Actually, Kincladze must have just had a worldie.
Yeah, absolutely. Okie dokie. Let me just double check the comments. Right, cool. Yeah, we're going to be talking more about the Ev. We're going to be having a good old laugh at Manchester United as well. Is time running out for Ruben Amorim?
How many times can we go with this title for a show, Paul? It's been ridiculous.
Gift that keeps on giving, honestly. They're having the worst start to a season in 33 years.
Honestly, that's what I mean. My brother messaged me yesterday and was like, have I not seen this for the past 3 seasons?
What was the Andrew Beasley stat someone put in WhatsApp before?
Yeah, I did. I can't remember. I saw it, but I can't remember what it was now.
But yeah, we're going to have a good old chat about the state that Manchester United are in, which has been just the best of topics on that show for so long. And as well, obviously, a little bit about Arsenal, Ange Postecoglou being back in the Premier League and looking like he hasn't left. As in, he looks dead miserable from day one. Absolute cob on post-match. Beautiful stuff. And the stories that the international breaks are changing from next season as well. Come and join us over on redmenplus.com for the Bias Football Podcast. It is the 4 of us. It is loads of fun. So come and fill your boots over on their podcast form and in video form as well. Ta-da.